Anna Hale walked through the gates of the training compound, wearing a uniform that looked too old and too faded to belong to any real soldier. The jacket was loose at the shoulders, and the trousers carried small tiers at the knees. Her boots were scratched, and her cap sat crooked on her head. Recruits standing nearby noticed her right away, and their laughter broke the still morning air. One young man nudged his friend and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "She looks like a child playing dress-up," another recruit added with a grin. "Maybe she got lost on the way to the theater." The words carried across the yard like sharp stones, bouncing from one group to another. The air filled with mocking chuckles and sneers. Anna did not react. She simply kept walking across the dirt yard, her hands loose by her side, her eyes fixed on a point far ahead, as if the insults never touched her. A tall officer named Captain. Ward noticed the noise and turned his attention toward her. His eyes narrowed as he stepped forward. His voice was clipped and firm. "Name and unit," he demanded. The recruits fell silent for a moment, waiting to hear what she would say. Anna answered with a low, steady voice. "Hale Anna, newly assigned, Captain." Ward glanced at his list and shook his head. "You are not on the roster," he said, his tone impatient as if speaking to a stranger who had wandered where she did not belong. The recruits burst into laughter again. One of them called out, "Maybe she came to clean the floors." Another shouted, "Or wash the dishes." The laughter rose like a wave crashing. Anna stood without moving. The mockery washed over her, but she did not flinch. Her silence seemed to grow heavier, like the air itself was pressing down on the yard. Even Captain Ward paused for a second, as if unsure, then he waved his hand dismissively. "Logistics are in the other wing. Go there. You are wasting our time." His words were sharp, but not cruel, more like he was brushing away a problem he did not want. The recruits were smiling and shaking their heads, some mimicking her walk as she bent to set her small bag on the ground. One recruit with close-cropped hair and a wide smirk stepped closer. He kicked at the bag and said, "What is inside?" "This thing, a broom, maybe a lunchbox." His friends laughed harder. Anna slowly lowered herself to one knee. She opened the bag without complaint. Inside were only a few items: a folded map, a cheap pen, a thin notebook with worn corners, and a small knife that looked more like a tool than a weapon. The wiry female recruit standing near leaned down and picked up the notebook. She flipped through it with exaggerated disgust. "This is all you bring," she said loudly. "You rob a gas station for supplies." Her laughter rang sharp and others joined in. She tossed the notebook into the dirt where the wind tugged its pages open. Another recruit stepped on the edge of the map. Smearing mud across the paper, Anna reached forward, her movements calm. She picked up the notebook and brushed away the dirt. She folded the map carefully, her lips pressed tight, but her hands steady. The recruits watched with growing curiosity. Some expected her to snap, others wanted her to break, but she gave them nothing, only silence. She tucked the items back into her bag and zipped it closed. Her fingers paused for a second longer than needed, a tiny detail that one older trainer, named Sergeant Briggs, did not miss. He had seen that kind of pause before in people who carried heavy memories. He narrowed his eyes and stepped back, his mind uneasy. Then something caught his attention as Anna straightened her jacket. The collar shifted and a glimpse of dark ink showed just above her collarbone. It was not a flower, not a heart, not anything the recruits would laugh about. It was sharper, cleaner, like the edge of wings carved in steel. Briggs froze. His breath caught for a moment. The recruits did not notice. They were too busy nudging one another and making jokes. But the older man stared at that faint ink, his mind racing back to long-forgotten files and whispers of units that were not supposed to exist. He felt a chill even in the warm sun. His heart thumped heavy in his chest. Anna adjusted her jacket, and the mark vanished under the fabric again. She picked up her bag and lifted it onto her shoulder. She looked at no one. She spoke to no one. She simply walked toward the back of the line where recruits were gathering for the first drill. The yard grew strangely quiet as she passed. The recruits exchanged glances. Some smirked, but softer now. Others frowned as if confused by her calm. She carried no pride and no fear, only that steady silence. The whistle blew and the group shuffled into place for training. Anna fell in. At the back, her steps sure and measured. Nobody saw the way her eyes scanned the yard, noting every corner and every dip in the ground. Nobody noticed the way her fingers flexed lightly as if remembering the feel of something heavier than a bag. Sergeant Briggs kept his gaze fixed on her. The image of that tattoo burned into his mind, and he thought to himself, if that mark is what I think it is, then none of these laughing children know what kind of shadow just walked among them. The morning sun climbed higher above the mountains, and the compound buzzed with restless energy as the recruits lined up for their first test. It was a long-distance run through rocky trails and steep hills, the kind of challenge designed to break egos and crush those who only looked strong. Chatter filled the air as young men and women boasted about who would finish first. Some flexed their arms, others joked about how easy it would be. In the middle of the noise stood Anna Hale, quiet as ever, adjusting her laces with calm hands. Her faded uniform clinging to her shoulders, her face unreadable as if none of this mattered. The recruits glanced at her and snickered. One said she will not last past the first hill. Another added, she will crawl back crying for water. The group laughed again and shook their heads. Captain Ward raised a whistle to his lips, his sharp eyes scanning the line. He lingered on Anna. For a moment, then shook his head. She looked like the weakest of them, yet her stillness unsettled him in a way he could not explain. He blew the whistle and the recruits surged forward in a storm of boots and shouts. Dust rose behind them as they thundered down the path. Anna moved too, but not with their frenzy. Her stride was steady and smooth. She did not fight to be first. She did not lag behind. She simply kept a rhythm as if the ground itself carried her along. By the second kilometer, the eager voices grew hoarse. Some already gasped for air, water bottles sloshing at their sides. Anna carried none. She never slowed, her breathing even as the wind. At the third kilometer, the group began to scatter. The tall recruit with the quarterback haircut pushed himself to the front, sweat running down his temple, his face turning red. Behind him, others stumbled. One tripped on a rock and cursed loudly. Anna passed quietly, her expression unchanged. Step after step, she gained ground not with speed but with patience. The trail grew harsher with sharp inclines, jagged stones, and narrow edges that tested balance. The recruits puffed and stumbled, but Anna climbed with a strange grace, her boots biting the dirt without hesitation. Her body seemed trained to endure. By the 7th kilometer, the leader faltered, his chest heaving. He slowed to a near crawl. Another recruit clutched his side in pain. The air filled with groans, yet Anna pressed forward without a single break, her shirt damp with sweat, her face calm. At the 9th kilometer, Anna had passed them all. She moved like a shadow slipping between rocks, her eyes sharp and focused. The finish line came into sight. Recruits in the distance staggered and dragged their feet. Anna crossed the line first. Not just first, but a full 3 minutes before anyone else. She stood with her hands on her hips, her skin flushed but her breathing steady. The timer marked her result and whispered among the trainers spread quickly. Sergeant Briggs narrowed his eyes, his suspicion growing. This was no ordinary woman, he thought. Recruits arrived one by one, collapsing on the ground, gasping for air, their laughter gone, their bravado broken. The quarterback recruit bent over, clutching his knees, too tired to speak, eyes darting. To Anna, with a mix of confusion and unease, none dared mock her now. The run was only the beginning. The next drill was gear inspection. Recruits placed their equipment neatly on the ground. Rifles gleamed, compasses lined in order, maps crisp and new. Then came Anna's turn. She set down her bag, small and plain. She opened it slowly, inside the same notebook, the same map now smudged, the cheap pen, the small knife. Whispers rose. Around her, the wiry female recruit stepped forward again, her sharp smile flashing. "Is this all you have?" she called, her voice loud. The others laughed, though not as freely as before. She flipped through the notebook, mocking the scribbles inside. She waved the pen in the air like trash. She tossed the map down so it landed in the dirt again. Anna bent to pick it up, her movements calm as ever, her fingers brushing away the dust. The laughter was weaker now, forced. Something about her calm unnerved them. They expected anger, but she offered none. She zipped her bag and straightened, her eyes steady. Sergeant Briggs saw her linger on the zipper again, the same small pause he had noticed before. A soldier's pause, a memory of war hidden in simple action. He clenched his jaw, his thoughts, racing back to that faint tattoo he had seen earlier. Could it be real? He wondered. Recruits moved on to the shooting range, laughter returning in nervous bursts. Rifles were handed out, targets placed far in the distance. Anna took her weapon. Without hesitation, she checked the scope, adjusted it with practiced fingers. The wiry recruit leaned close and sneered. "You hold that like you have never touched a gun. Maybe you will cry when it kicks." The others snickered. Anna ignored her. She lifted the rifle, her movements fluid, her eyes steady against the scope. She fired. The shot rang out across the field. The bullet struck dead center, a perfect hit. The laughter died instantly. Silence spread like a shadow. The wiry recruit froze, her fake smile cracking. Anna lowered the rifle, placed it back on the table, and walked away without a word. Trainers exchanged glances. Sergeant Briggs scribbled quickly on his clipboard, his mind screaming at him. This was no accident. This was skill carved from years of fire. As Anna stepped into the shade, her collar shifted again, the faint silver wings flickered into view for just a heartbeat. Briggs felt the chill again. He whispered under his breath, "If that is what I think it is, then everything here is about to change forever." Evening settled over the compound, and the recruits crowded into the barracks, the air buzzing with tired laughter and cruel whispers. The long run had drained their bodies, but not their tongues. The wiry female recruit leaned against her bunk and smirked, her voice sharp as she spoke. "That delivery girl has strong legs but nothing else. Just wait, she will break." The others chuckled, though their voices carried less confidence than before. The quarterback recruit rubbed his sore knees and muttered, "Nobody runs like that without hiding something." The group leaned closer, their curiosity growing. One sharp-eyed recruit with a ponytail so tight it pulled her face taut grinned suddenly. She said she saw ink under Anna's collar earlier. Not a flower, not some random mark, something sharp and military. Her phone slipped into her hand quick as lightning. She whispered, "I will catch it next time." Anna sat at the edge of her bunk quietly, her bag at her feet, her head bent as she cleaned her boots with slow, steady strokes. She heard every word but gave no sign. Her silence was heavy like stone. The recruits grew restless under it. Some tossed wadded paper at her, others tapped their boots to draw her attention. She did not move. She just kept polishing the worn leather until it caught a faint shine. Sergeant Briggs passed by the doorway, his eyes drifting to her again, the image of those wings burning in his memory. He clenched his teeth. He needed to know for certain. After roll call, he slipped into the records room, the cold light of the computer flickering as he searched through old classified files. His heart pounded as he typed the code words. Iron Wings Unit. His screen blinked red, access restricted, eyes only. The files were locked, but a single grainy image loaded on the screen, a black and white photo of an insignia, two steel wings crossed, by a sword etched in silver. His hands shook. He whispered under his breath, "Impossible. They were disbanded years ago, erased from history, but the mark is hers." He slammed the file shut and leaned back in his chair, sweat on his brow. Outside, the recruits were still stirring trouble. In the mess hall, the quarterback recruit started tossing bald napkins toward Anna's tray. His grin wide as he said, "She thinks she is too good for us." One napkin landed in her cup of black coffee, splashing dark drops across the table. Laughter rippled through the room. A woman with cropped hair flicked another napkin that struck Anna's arm. Anna lifted her hand slowly, gathered the napkins one by one, and placed them neatly aside. The laughter faltered as she rose to her feet. She picked up her tray and walked past them, her back straight, her eyes calm, her silence pressed on them like a weight. None of them dared block her way. Once outside, she sat on a bench, the sky painted orange with the setting sun. She pulled a small knife from her bag. Not a weapon, but a tool. She cleaned dirt from under her nails, a habit born of long waiting moments. Recruits passing by whispered, "She is strange," one said. "She never talks, never fights back." Another shrugged. "Probably just some nobody who got lucky. She will not last." Anna's jaw tightened for only a second. Then she breathed slow and steady. A trainer named Harris, older and soft-spoken, stepped. Toward her, he carried a worn leather journal. He said gently, "I saw your map work today. It reminded me of someone I once trained." He flipped to a page showing old sketches, neat lines drawn with precision, paths marked exactly as Anna had drawn her routes. His eyes softened. She was good. She disappeared on a mission, never came back. Anna's hand stilled on the knife. Her gaze lifted for a moment, her expression softened, almost invisible. She whispered, "She must have been strong." Harris nodded. He closed his journal, his voice low, stronger than anyone knew. He left her there, with his words hanging in the air like a quiet truth. That night during briefing, Captain Ward spoke of drills for the next day. Anna stood at the back, her arms crossed. Sergeant Briggs leaned on the wall, watching her closely. During a break, Anna stepped into the corridor for air. Her collar shifted as she leaned. Briggs saw the ink again, this time clear, steel wings shining faint beneath the light. His face changed. Not fear, not surprise, but the heavy weight of recognition. He turned without a word and limped quickly toward the secure files room. He needed proof, needed certainty. Behind him, Anna adjusted her collar again and stood in the shadow. Unaware of his retreat, recruits filed out whispering, rumors spreading. Faster than smoke, some swore they had seen a tattoo, others scoffed and said it was nothing. But the unease grew. No one laughed as freely now. Whispers circled like vultures, waiting for truth to drop. Anna sat alone again, her silence heavy, but her presence impossible to ignore. The compound carried a new tension, the kind that clings to the air before a storm that none of them yet understood. But Sergeant Briggs did. He whispered to himself, "Tomorrow will tell. Tomorrow they will all see." Morning came with a chill in the air, and the recruits gathered on the field for roll call. The sky was gray and the ground still wet from the night rain. Captain Ward stood tall in front of them, his eyes sharp and searching. He had been restless. All night, whispers of Anna's strange tattoo had reached his ears, and he wanted the truth. His voice cut through the silence as he barked her name. "Hail, Anna, step forward." The recruits turned to stare, some smirking with anticipation, others curious and uneasy. Anna moved slowly but steady, her faded uniform hanging loose, her face calm as always. She stood in front of the captain, the rest of the group waiting like a crowd at a stage. Ward folded his arms and said, "We have a problem. That ink on your skin. We do not know what it means," the recruits murmured among themselves. One with cropped hair whispered loud enough for all to hear, "Told you she was shady." Another laughed nervously. "Maybe it is a gang mark." Ward's eyes narrowed as he pointed at her collar. "Show us. Prove you are clean." The air went tight. A few recruits shifted on their feet. One lanky boy muttered under his breath, "This is wrong." But no one spoke louder. Anna stood in the middle of the circle, her silence thicker than stone. Then without hesitation she reached for her collar. She pulled the fabric aside just enough to reveal the mark, two steel, wings crossed by a sword inked in shimmering silver. The light caught it and made it glimmer like fire. A gasp broke the air. One recruit clapped her hand over her mouth, her whisper trembling, "That is the Iron Wings mark." The words spread like a spark on dry grass. The Iron Wings, the unit spoken only in rumors, soldiers that were never meant to exist. Soldiers who carried out missions the world could not know. The recruits stared at Anna, their laughter dead in their throats. Captain Ward's jaw tightened, but he forced his voice to stay firm. "It proves nothing," he snapped. "Anyone can draw wings." His words sounded thin even to himself. Sergeant Briggs stepped forward but stopped, his face hard with secrets. He wanted to speak but held his tongue. Ward was not finished. His pride and his suspicion demanded more. "Fine," he said. "If you are real, then prove it." He turned sharply and pointed at 3 recruits, the quarterback with the buzz cut, the wiry boy with glasses, and a tall woman fast on her feet. "You 3 will hunt her." The recruits froze at his command. "Hunt her," Ward repeated. "Survival drill in the forest, live conditions. Capture her and bring her back." His voice was clipped, daring her to object. The crowd buzzed with shock and excitement. Anna stood without reaction, her voice soft but clear. "I do not prove anything. I act." Then she lifted her small bag and checked the knife inside. Her fingers calm, she walked toward the trees without looking back. The recruits murmured in awe and fear. Some thought Ward had gone too far. Others leaned forward, eager to see her fail. The 3 chosen recruits strapped their gear quickly, their faces tense but determined. The quarterback cracked his knuckles, trying to hide his nerves. The wiry boy smirked, though sweat ran down his temple. The tall woman tightened her laces and said quietly, "Let us end this." The forest swallowed them in shadows, and the compound grew silent. Only the rustle of leaves and distant calls of birds echoed through the air. Sergeant Briggs clenched his clipboard so tightly, his knuckles went white, he whispered. Under his breath, "This will not end the way they expect." Deeper in the forest, Anna moved like water, her steps silent, her eyes scanning every branch, every footprint, every broken twig. She was not hiding, she was waiting. The quarterback pushed ahead loudly, his boots crunching leaves. He signaled to his partners, "Spread out. We corner her." His voice was too loud, his breath heavy, he thought. He was hunting, but the truth was already clear. Anna was behind him. Her hand moved swift. She twisted his arm and tied his wrists with his own belt before he could cry out, his eyes wide with disbelief. The wiry boy heard the scuffle and rushed forward, his radio crackling. He whispered coordinates that were already wrong. He spun around. Too late. Anna dropped from a tree, her knife flashing only inches from his throat, her voice low. "Stay down." He froze in terror. She bound him quickly and left him kneeling against a trunk. His smirk gone, the tall woman lasted the longest. She was sharp and fast, moving with skill. She crouched low at a stream, her eyes scanning the water. She thought she saw movement. Then Anna stepped from the shadows, quick as lightning. The tall woman swung, but Anna disarmed her in 2 motions, tying her to a stump with rope taken from her own pack. The woman's breath came heavy, but her eyes filled with something new. "Respect," she whispered. "You are not normal." Anna gave no reply. She simply turned away. As the sun dipped lower, Anna returned to the compound alone, calm as ever. She carried no trophies yet. The truth was written on her silence. Behind her, 3 recruits were found tied but unharmed. The crowd gasped and whispered, their disbelief growing into uneasy awe. Captain Ward tried to hide the shake in his voice as he barked for order. His words sharp but hollow. Anna placed her bag on the ground and stood at the edge of the yard, her collar hiding the tattoo once again, her hands loose at her side. She looked at no one, but her presence filled the space like thunder before. Rain. Sergeant Briggs finally allowed himself a small nod. The proof was not in words or files. It was in action, in the way she moved, in the silence that crushed doubt, and in the mark that no lie could erase. The compound was restless after the forest drill. Recruits whispered in corners and stared at Anna with wide eyes. The three who had been sent to hunt her stood silent, their pride broken, their wrists still sore from her quick knots. Captain. Ward's face was red with anger and confusion, his pride wounded in front of everyone, yet still he would not admit defeat. He barked orders through clenched teeth. Drills continued, lessons dragged on, but the air was no longer the same. Every step Anna took drew stares. Every movement carried weight. Sergeant Briggs kept his gaze steady on her, the image of those silver wings carved into his mind. He knew the truth, but he also knew more was coming. By midday, the recruits gathered. At the shooting range again, their rifles in hand, laughter forced and weak. One of them tried to regain his voice. The wiry boy with glasses muttered, "She just got lucky." But his tone shook and no one laughed with him. Anna stood in line, her hands calm, her shot perfect again. The paper target split in the center. Silence followed, only the echo of the bullet. Fading through the hills, the trainer scribbled notes quickly, his eyes never leaving her steady form. In the barracks, whispers spread faster than fire. Some called her dangerous, others called her legend. The ponytail recruit who had tried to snap photos earlier looked at her phone with trembling hands, the image of the tattoo clear and sharp. She thought of sending it to the outside world, but her stomach twisted with fear. Evening fell with heavy. Clouds gathering overhead, thunder rolled in the distance. The recruits filed into the yard for the next exercise. Captain Ward stood tall, though sweat glistened on his brow. He called Anna forward again, his voice sharp though it cracked at the edges. "Enough games," he said. "You think you are special, fine. Show us one last time." He pointed toward the far. Woods, survival conditions overnight. No help, no guidance. Only you and what you carry. If you make it back by morning, then maybe you are worth our time, the recruits muttered among themselves, some eager, some fearful. Anna adjusted the strap of her bag and nodded once, her voice low but clear.